All right, so since it's Halloween, we want to tell a little story about like a scary thing that's happened to me. I've never really had anything happen with like the supernatural or anything like that, and this isn't that either. But this is one of the scariest nights of my life, and it's one of those things that, like, when you break it down afterwards, everything could probably be explained pretty easily, but just the culmination of a bunch of different things made it one of the most terrifying experiences I've ever had. And so what that was, we grew up in Sacramento, and I went to a school out in this area called Natomas, which is like the suburbs ultimately. The Natomas is a floodplain. It originally was supposed to be where the water went when we flooded, but instead we decided to build houses there because when the flood happens, everyone's house is going to be gone. But basically there's levees out there. And there's these really, really creepy levees. If you've never been to like a levee, it's not as beautiful as, who's the guy who does the levee song? Chevy to the levee, dry, dry. Chevy to the levee, the levee was dry. That guy. So it's not as cool as what that guy says, at night at least. And so we used to go there at night back in high school. This is when I was about 16 or so. I was the only one of my friends with a car. So it was me, my friend Chris, our friend Alex, and our friend Lexi. And we would go out to the levee at night, like midnight on like a Saturday. You're 16, you can't go to like a club or anything like that. So you would just do stupid crap like go to a levee. So we would do that because it was really creepy. And we all, you know, we're always like, oh, it's all scary and stuff. So the levee had this big, like, I don't know how to describe it, like a big, like, water plant looking thing. Because the levee, there's these two big hills, and then there's a big trough in the middle, and a big cement trough, and that's where the water flow would go in case of a flood, in case of a flash flood. And there's this big plant there that straddles the trough and has these big doors that they can open and close. If there's a ton of water, they can let it through or back it up or do whatever they need to do. I don't know, I'm not an engineer. So we would go to that building at night because the whole levee was like dark because it's way out in the suburbs of Natomas. And it was all dark, and it was every once in a while these lights, these little orange lights, kind of like street light orange lights, and it just made the whole place super, super creepy. Like, it's definitely the place you go to drop a body. And so we used to go to this old power plant there, and because it was just this creepy, eerie orange glow through the whole building. And I said it straddled the trough, and so what we used to do is there was this little ledge that went along the building where it would go out along the big trough and then along the building and then back along the trough this way. And it was about this big. It was probably like 4 or 5 inches. And then there was a chain link fence that separated that from the building. And so we used to get on it, grab the chain link fence, and just do one of these.
It's like your Indiana Jones?
Yeah, just doing this. Just doing this right here. And would go along and then across and then back and then go back again. So we used to do that all the time, which is dumb because from that building where we were doing it down to the bottom of like the water chute area was like 20 feet and it was concrete down there. So it was a terrible idea if you fell. And we'd always bring it up because there was also this big light that was always off, and it said, a big sign that said, warning, water may appear at any time. Because again, this is where flash flood offlow is supposed to go. So we'd always joke around like, man, one of these days, one of us is going to fall in this damn chute. And the second we hit that concrete, it's going to be like, and then water's going to start coming down the thing. And we're like, ah! And you're going to get hit, and you're going to get like pushed up against the back door, like, ah! Like that or something like that. And you're going to die, and everyone's going to mourn you and stuff like that. And so we were always thinking that. So this one night we were out there, and we were doing that, and it was a really creepy night. Because it was like midnight, it was a full moon, but there's this one solitary cloud that was just always in front of the moon. I don't know why. It never seemed to move. It was always blocking the moonlight. And we kept being like, man, that's a really creepy thing. Like the fact that it's just never quite there. Like this night's supposed to be weirdly spooky. So we went out to this thing, and we're doing our normal thing across the levee, and none of us fell, and the light didn't come on, but the whole night we kept being like, we kept getting this feeling that like something bad was gonna happen, and something weird was gonna happen like that. And so the whole time we were doing it, we were also really, really scared, and we were really, really like shaking and just doing dumb teenage stuff. And so we went and did that, and then we decided to go back to the car because we were starting to get really, really wigged out about this. We just, I mean, it was a clear sky with the exception of that one cloud, but we're like, I don't know, it's gonna rain, man, and there's gonna be water coming down this chute. And you know, and so we decided to leave. And so we just got back into my car, and we decided to drive along the levee. So the levee, again, is a big kind of like hill, a really long hill on either side of the trough. And on top of that, there's almost always a road, kind of like an access road, so that people can go fix the levee. I don't know what the hell you do with levees. So we were driving on this road, and it's like very, very narrow, 2-lane road. So one lane going this way, one lane going this way. And we're driving all the way out to the end of the levee, because the levee eventually ends. So we go like, boo, we're just driving out. It's getting darker and darker and darker and darker. And we knew eventually there was going to be a stop, and we were going to have to turn around and drive back. And we used to do this because the farther and farther you went, the creepier and creepier it got. So we would drive to the very end of the levee like that, just really slowly, just getting more and more creeped out. And we do this fairly often, but this night particularly, it was really, really peaked where we weren't even really having that much fun doing it. We were kind of just being like, okay, I'm really not liking this. And we're just going out. And eventually we hit the stop. There's a big roadblock. You can't go any farther. And so we eventually hit the stop, which means you have to then turn around on this really, really narrow little highway, again, which has big, steep banks on the other side because, again, it's a levee. It's holding back water. So we would just kind of do our little 10-point turn, get all the way around, and we'd start coming back. And here's the part where the night got way worse. Because when we were heading out to the end of the levee, we were like, it would be so weird and so creepy if someone else was out here. Like, no one else is out there. We've never seen anyone else out there. And we're like, that would be weird. And we kept saying it, and Lexi was just like, please stop saying that. It's freaking me out. We're all kind of like, oh, just like saying it to just like, oh, I'm not scared. You're scared, man. You're scared. You know, and we kind of went out. We finally turned around, and we started heading back. And we get, you know, probably, I don't know, a couple 100 feet going back the other way. And then all of a sudden, headlights turn on behind us. And we instantly are like, what the hell? First of all, because we were just down there. There was not a car down there. Where did these headlights come from? And then the headlights start speeding towards us behind us. So we instantly go into panic mode. I'm like a 16-year-old driver, and we punch it going down the top of this levee road, which is a terrible place to be going like 70. And so we were punching, going faster and faster and faster, and this car is following us and gaining on us. You know, he just going boom, and we're going forward, and they're gaining on us like this. And we are screaming at the top of our lungs, just I'm like driving, looking behind me like, oh my God, and everyone's like, freaking out, because it was just the culmination of so many different things. And finally we get to the part of the levee where it has a road that goes back out to civilization like this. The road kind of goes up the levee like that, and I freaking slow down just enough to be able to make it on that road kind of safely, and we go boom, and we start going up this road, and they boom, take that bank even faster than us and start following us again. And then we come across a stop sign, and I blow through the stop sign. Don't even think about stopping. And then boom, they blow through the stop sign, and they keep gaining on us. And the next stop sign, not even a thought, going straight through the stop sign. They're right behind us the whole way. They never stop. They never once seem to care. We're going like 70 down this little road, going back out to, I believe it's Thomas Boulevard. It's a big street. It's a big like 5-lane street, big old street. That's where this little access road goes out to. And so literally without slowing down at all, we go out into Natomas Boulevard. We go out into the main road there, and just peeling and screaming across the corner and go out there. And they finally stopped. They stopped in Natomas because we went right in front of a group of cars. They must have had a green light over here. And so we went right in front of the group of cars coming, and we're able to go like that. And they had to stop, or else they would have plowed into a whole bunch of different people. And we eventually drove a couple miles away and went to a gas station, all like freaked out and stuff. And it was just like one of those situations where like you look back at it and you're like, there's not that much creepy. There on the levee roads, there's roads that go down so people can like access the bottom of the levee. So there's probably some other people like us who were down one of those roads, and they're probably like smoking weed or having sex or something like that. Like they were probably just doing something like that. And they just happened to come up after us, or they saw us drive by and like, that's weird, there's other people here. And they came up, and when they saw us kind of panic and start driving away, they were like, oh, this will be fun. And they just started coming after us and stuff. So it was probably all in jest in their part, but just the different culmination of it just being a weird night, the moon always being shrouded by clouds, and then us going to that creepy water plant and it having been creepier than usual, and then driving along the levee road and just all these different things stacked on top of each other, and then like the coming to fruition of us being like, it'd be weird, really weird if someone else was out here, and then someone else was. and that person also, boom, hit their spotlights, which means they came up onto the road with no lights and then hit the spotlights and then took on after us. That was someone with a freaking sickle, and they were gonna cut our heads off for sure. So there is just, so it was just a really crazy night, and I couldn't go back to that levee probably for at least a year or two after that, because it was so freaking scary. And I don't know, I couldn't handle it at all. But that was one of the scariest nights of my life, and a very kind of like Halloween-esque horror story. But in the story, they would have caught up to us and killed us all. But they, like, we were those kids at that like opened up the story. You know, like the I Know What You Did Last Summer, like we're the people who got killed, and then everyone else hears about it in the town, and then like 5 years later, like, you know, the Sarah Michelle Gellar is just like, oh, those stories aren't real, and then, you know, and then all our friends get killed by this slasher and stuff like that. It was like, it felt like the opening of one of those kind of movies. So yeah, so that was one of the scariest nights of my life. It's coming up on Halloween here. It felt natural to tell it. So yeah, so that's my story about being scared crapless by a levee. That guy's full of shit, man. Levees suck.
That's perfect.
So please be sure to like and subscribe to our channel and share this video if you liked it. We're trying to do stuff like this more often, where we like to tell stories. Mike and I both have a ton of different stories, and we want to tell them all. And if you're feeling really generous, please feel free to go over to our Patreon and throw us a buck or two. So thank you so much for hanging out with us. And down in the comments, let us know what kind of stories you want to hear. Give us any prompts. If we have any stories that match those kind of prompts, we want to tell them. We want to know what you want to hear. So let us know down in the comments below. Thanks a lot. Have a good one.